On this episode, we chat to Pailin from Hot Thai Kitchen about her YouTube show and her brand new cookbook.
So if you want to give your Thai cooking skills a boost in quality, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to find a cure for 4 months of miserable Canadian blizzards, and it worked so well I never went back.
You got the ultimate solution to that problem.
Yeah, leave.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract 22 years ago, fell in love with nodding at seemingly familiar faces on the street and hoping that they're former students of mine and not just random strangers, so I never left.
Oh, man. I know exactly what you're feeling, how you feel, because, you know, when I first came to Thailand, I used to teach at an all-girls high school, like a really big one. So I saw like 800 students every year for this, right?
Right.
So at the end of the 2 years I taught there was a lot of students that came through my classes. And then for the next 3, 4, 5 years after that, I'd be walking in usually around Siam Square with my girlfriend.
Sure.
And some, you know, beautiful young woman would walk by me and go, "Hi, Greg." And I'd be like, "Hey."
That's right. Yeah,
My girlfriend's like, "Who's that?" And I'd be like, "I don't know who that is. Probably a student."
Yeah. I mean, I've taught several different teaching jobs, and I've been at my university so long. It's that, you know, there's just I have a couple thousand former students, and it's not just I gave up years ago remembering people's names. Like, forget about that. Yeah. Like, that's just that's a distant memory. Like, I don't even, but my thing now is where I see a face and I think it's one of my former students, and then like I feel compelled to smile or say hey or whatever, but then I'm like worried that they actually, like, it might not, like, because sometimes, most of the time, luckily they're like, oh, you know, Achan Ed, but then sometimes the person like looks at me like, who are you, dude?
Yeah, right. Though I used to get mad when I didn't recognize them or remember their names. And I'd be like, look, you're all about the same size. You have roughly the same haircuts because it's mandated by the school. You're wearing the same uniform, the same socks, the same shoes. Give me a break.
Plus, I mean, I tease my students about this. You know, I tell them, like, you have 5 teachers to remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I have hundreds of students. So it's not we're not on an equal playing field here.
Anyway.
All right, we want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's plus-sized bonus show, we chatted about the ongoing grab bike versus motorcycle taxi dispute, more talk about how insane the AI revolution is turning out to be, the crazy huge fine levied against a craft beer advocate for his posts on social media, and a discussion about how our friends in the film industry are benefiting from the influx of foreign productions to Thailand, including season 3 of White Lotus. To learn how to become a patron, click the support button at the top of our website.
Suppose I got to start watching season 1 of White Lotus.
No, I mean, I've heard a lot about it. I haven't watched a single episode.
Right. And as always, if you have a comment, a show idea, or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com and click the little microphone button on the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we'll play on the show. All right, well, on this episode, we welcome back a guest who was last on the show on episode 4 of season 3 way back in 2018. Now, if you're a fan of cooking Thai food, you've probably seen her awesome YouTube channel, Hot Thai Kitchen. I'm, of course, talking about our old pal, Pailin Chongchitnant. Now, despite regularly putting out awesome cooking videos from her kitchen in lovely Vancouver and browsing the far reaches of obscure markets, she somehow found time to write a new cookbook called Sabai, 100 Simple Thai Recipes for Any Day of the Week. As usual, she makes it all seem so fun and effortless, which might even make me knuckle down and learn how to make my own lap mu at home. So to talk about her channel, her thoughts on Thai food in Canada and Thailand, and tell us about her new book, here is my cool interview with our cool friend, Pailin Chongchitnant. All right, well, we are psyched to be talking to someone who we last talked to back in, let me look at my website here, 2018, season 3, episode 4. I am, of course, talking about our friend Pailin Chongchitnant from Hot Thai Kitchen. Pailin, welcome back to the Bangkok podcast.
Thank you for having me back.
It's super cool talking to you for a bunch of reasons, but the one closest to my heart is, of course, I'm talking to you from Toronto, or
Yes.
Trana, as they say.
Toronto.
Toronto, man. It's the center of the universe, eh? And you actually live in Vancouver, but you're there for a reason that we will get into a little bit later on in the show. But first, let's give us an update on your channel, your Hot Thai Kitchen channel. I'm not even sure if you've changed the name. I think it's Pailin's Kitchen now. I'm not sure what the nomenclature is, but get into that. Tell us about yourself. What are you doing, and what's keeping you busy these days?
This was my biggest mistake of my career. I decided to name my YouTube channel Pailin's Kitchen,
Okay.
but I named my cooking show on the channel Hot Thai Kitchen. And I did it that way because I thought that I may have another show under the same channel down the line. Then I can have two different shows under the umbrella of Pailin's Kitchen. But it ended up just confusing people. But it doesn't matter. If you look up Hot Thai Kitchen or Pailin's Kitchen on the Google, I will show up in one way or another. My website is hotthaikitchen.com, and I teach Thai food to the English speakers around the world.
So how do you structure the show then? Is it like, I am sorry, I'm not a cook. I can cook a mean bologna sandwich. That's about the extent of it. So I don't follow your channel very closely. How often do you make shows? What's your theme? What are you trying to do, and what are you trying to get across?
Yeah, so my tagline is demystifying Thai cuisine,
Okay.
because most foreigners, they love Thai food. The Thai restaurants are just so popular here, but they find it very mysterious and very intimidating, and they don't really know where to begin to start cooking it at home. And maybe foreigners living in Bangkok might feel the same way, especially because buying food is so easy that they don't need to cook Thai food. But if they were to begin, they might be a little lost as to where do they start. So I try to really break it down in each video. One recipe, it comes fully loaded with instructions and tips and all of that, to make sure that if you're a beginner, you can still pull this off. So I post a video every other week. Earlier on in my career, I used to post only recipes because there were so many recipes to cover. But now that I've been doing this for almost 13 years, believe it or not,
Damn.
all the popular dishes have been done. Like I've done tom yum gung. I've done tom yum gung like 3 times already over the past 10 years. So now I'm starting to venture into non-recipe videos, talking about ingredients, like what type of curry paste is the best one that you can buy at the store.
Oh,
My
cool.
my latest, most popular video is a guide to an Asian grocery store. Like people get really intimidated and confused by the Asian grocery store. They don't know which brand to choose. So I did a tour of that. And then my most recent one is the one that I'm most passionate about, is how to eat Thai food correctly. Like
Ooh.
how to use a fork and a spoon. Because Greg, I don't know if you went through this when you went to Thailand, but most Farang will start eating Thai food with just a fork.
What?
Yeah, you've
Is
been in
that
Thailand for too long. You don't even know. You probably did the same thing to start.
is that more insulting or less insulting than using chopsticks?
It's less insulting. No, but it's impractical, right? Like, and they
Right.
struggle. You watch them struggle trying to get rice and wet curry onto this fork, and things fall off and all this stuff. And you see them in restaurants all the time. And even if some restaurants don't even give farang spoons because they don't use them. Like they used to give them and they don't use them, so they stopped giving it to them. This is true story. That I worked in a restaurant where they explained to me, this is why we don't give them spoons, because they never use them. And even if restaurants that do give them spoons, they don't know what to do with the spoon. So they end up like using the spoon to help push food onto the fork,
Oh,
because
geez.
they're so used to eating with a fork. The fork in mouth is like the most ingrained thing if you grow up in the Western world. So it just never occurred to them that it's more practical to do it the other way around. So I don't say this with judgment, which is because my husband does the same thing and it's just so ingrained. But I felt like it was finally something to be addressed, and I got so much interest in that video.
No way. Oh, that's awesome.
And there are people who are like, "Oh my God, why did I never think about this? Like, this is so embarrassing." Like, when you point it out, it's so obvious, right? That like the spoon
Yeah.
to scoop things just makes so much sense. But it just never occurred to them because all their life it's the fork that goes in your mouth.
This is so fascinating because it also speaks to the fact that, Ed and I talked about this on a thing, I think it was a recent bonus show, in that sometimes we feel kind of like hypocrites, kind of saying something like, well, this is not how they do things back home, because we've been in Thailand for so long that we sometimes don't know how they do things back home anymore, or they used to do things like that, but they don't anymore. So I'm so used to that now that maybe I did do that when I got here, but it's been steamrolled by my 21 years in Thailand.
Oh, I'm
So
sure. I'm sure you
I don't
you
know.
had a similar struggle, but you figured it out quickly.
Knowing
Um,
me, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I did not hit the ground running when I came to Thailand. But
did you try chopsticks?
I don't think I was that bad. I probably just used my hands. But I remember it's funny that you say demystifying Thai food, because I remember before I had even thought about coming to Thailand in my job, I was substituting in another office for one of my coworkers who was out of town, and he was married to a Thai woman. And I stayed at his place. And I remember he was like, "Help yourself to my cupboards. It's all yours. I'll be back in a couple of days." So I opened up the cupboards and there was all this insane food. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I didn't make clear noodles. What's going on? Like, it was just bizarre. And I closed them and I went out and I bought a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter. So I remember back when I was a noob. And I'm glad that your channel is around now to help people like me, but I wish it was around 21 years ago.
Yeah, it's never too late.
Well, last time you were on the show, which was a great discussion, we talked a lot
Mhm.
about the landscape of Thai food in Western countries and Canada, especially, and how it's seen and how it's perceived. And one thing I remember you saying was that you were upset when people put peanut sauce on something. Chicken wings, peanut sauce, Thai chicken wings. What's
I'm still upset about that. Oh my God.
what's the latest in the Thai food scene in Vancouver and Canada at large?
So I'll speak for North America,
Okay,
and I think we've actually come quite a long way, especially with um, the recent movement towards people of color and recognizing the contribution of people of color in the restaurant industry, and media being much more mindful of quote unquote authenticity. So they
interesting.
it seems that there are more. I've been so you're probably not familiar with this, but there was a scandal from Bon Appetit where they had a big YouTube channel with millions of followers, and they had, their staff on their videos, but only the white staff were paid well and guaranteed spots. And then they would have all these people of color come on the show, and they weren't given like proper contracts, and some of them weren't even paid. And this was outed, and it was a big scandal. And since that moment, all of a sudden, all these magazines reached out to me to interview me to get my input on articles that they want to write about Thai ingredients and everything, because everyone's
Wow.
afraid now. Everyone is so afraid that like they're going to write an article on a cultural piece on Thai food, and it's not consulted by any Thai people. It's wrong. It's written by a white person, and they're also afraid now of doing what Bon Appetit did. And so suddenly I got all these people reaching out to me for interviews, for input, and it was great for me, but I was like, wow, it took a scandal to get us to this point.
Wow.
It's
That's
kind of
so
like the
that's
Me Too movement and the Black Lives Matter. Like, it takes some big, terrible thing before people realize that, okay, we need to do this differently. So as a result, Thai food in the media, I think, is moving in the right direction. It's still got a long way to go. I just saw an article on larb on the Washington Post that was horrific. Um,
oh geez. Was
I
it
still have to write them about that. Um,
Did you cringe as hard as you did in Spider-Man when they went to a Thai restaurant and she was like, "I larb you"?
yes. Oh my God, that was the most painful scene I've ever had to sit through. Um, oh, and then in terms of restaurants, we still have many sort of restaurants that serve westernized Thai food that's sort of not my favorite. But we have a new generation of Thai restaurants that are like saying, no, we're going to serve Thai food as they are in Thailand. We're going to use like we're going to source real ingredients. We're not going to be shy. We're going to be bold with our flavor. So there's a new
Mm,
generation of these restaurants popping up everywhere in North America, in the UK. There's even one in Vancouver, definitely in Toronto. So people are becoming more bold. And the difference is the first generation of Thai restaurants, those were just immigrants trying to make a living. And they needed something safe. They needed to make something that
right,
wasn't gonna like backfire. They needed to make a living.
right.
Now the generation that is opening restaurants here are people who are passionate about food. They're chefs. Maybe they're Thai born. Maybe they are they moved to North America as a kid, so they're not. This is their chosen career, and they're here with a passion.
Then they're able and willing to take a bit more risks and push the boundaries a bit rather than just appeal to the lowest common denominator because that's the safest middle of the road route.
Exactly, and I don't say this with judgment, with sort of the old
No,
generation of Thai restaurants. Like when I think about the context of that time, it made perfect sense that they would choose to do those things.
totally.
That they just did not have the buffer to just risk it, right? With all this quote unquote weird Thai food.
Right.
So, but now the current generation, the motivation is different. Like they want to spread Thai culture, they want to spread Thai food, they've got something to stand for, and they're doing really great things. So now it's this weird mix of both that's in existence. Um, and I'm hoping that the newer generation restaurants are going to proliferate, and eventually the state of Thai food is going to be much better.
I would like to talk to a Chinese chef in Bangkok and ask them what they think about the American Chinese food that's come into Bangkok over the past few years. Because,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Has
like
Panda
Americans.
Express come?
Well, no, I don't. Panda Express is like a delivery, isn't it? But I'm talking about like sweet and sour chicken and kung pao pork and stuff that
Oh, I
doesn't
see.
exist in China,
Right,
like
right,
the
right.
American dishes. So it's gone from China to America and from America to Thailand, and it's
Hmm.
good. But
Oh, interesting.
yeah, well, that's great. That's really good to hear. That's fascinating. That's sort of that maturing of culture and society and the sort of leveling of the playing field has seeped into the culinary arts as well. I also wanted to get your thoughts on Thailand. You were here about a year ago,
Hmm.
and what was your thoughts about how Thailand and Bangkok in particular has changed since you were last here, food or otherwise?
So I actually keep a closer eye on Thai food culture through social media and my friends. And then every time I go back, it's like, okay, let's experience this for real.
Okay,
Um, but I try to stay in touch with the Thai food culture because I feel like if I'm going to represent Thai food to the Western world, I need to be updated. So, there are a few things. The first thing, I think the food in Bangkok has become extremely social media driven. So you
mm,
get this because Thai people love to follow Instagram to eat, and they're willing to go out of their way to find that cool food that they saw on Instagram.
yeah,
And despite the traffic and everything, they will go, right? So what what happens then is you've got this proliferation of food that looks really cool, whether or not it actually tastes any good, right? Like people putting cheesy, stretchy cheese on random things, or like
Right.
oozing overstuffed crepes or whatever it happens to be, or like the seafood buckets that they pour onto your table at night markets, or even like the leng bom leng. You know that? Do you know leng? It's like
No.
this pork bone soup that it's but it's and Mark Wiens is responsible for making this popular.
Nice going, Mark.
Yeah. And it's piled high into this enormous mountain. And so you've got a lot of food like that is made to go viral. And
Yeah.
and then they come and go very quickly, right? Because once people have had it, they're like, okay, I've had enough of that. But it's too weird, too crazy to become a staple. And a lot of it is like it's not
Right.
necessarily all that great. It's just, but it was cool to look at.
Gets the clicks.
Yeah, and over the years, I've seen a lot of food come and go that, I don't know if you remember, there was a few years ago, there was ice cream that was made on a tabletop and they were like
Yep.
chopping it up. Yeah, that's not popular anymore.
Hmm.
Not as
Well,
much.
a few years ago, Ed and I tried the durian pizza at Pizza Hut on the show.
Yeah,
Not great. And also, just recently, they have the chocolate Whopper at
yeah,
Burger King.
I know. It's just awful. Oh my God.
Okay.
I heard about that too. So I think fats really thrive in Thailand in
Hmm.
ways that they don't in the Western world. And
Right.
my theory is that the reason food fats really thrive in Thailand is because the barrier to entry into a food business in Thailand is extremely low compared to in North America. In North
Mm.
America, if you want to sell food, you got to get your health inspection, you got to get some food safe certification, you can't cook out of your home kitchen, that is illegal to feed the
Right.
public from your home. There's all sorts of like red tape, and it's expensive and all these, so you can't just like decide to start selling a thing and just do it. But in
Hmm.
Thailand you can just start and it's cheaper, there's not as much you know documentation to go through, so people can really quickly jump on whatever's popular at the time and just go with it.
Right.
And I
Interesting.
think that's why things get, when something becomes popular, all of a sudden it's all over the place, which does not happen in Vancouver.
I remember reading an article in the South China Morning Post about 8 months ago, and it was talking about these cafes that spring up and they look cool and they're built for Instagram. And then,
Yes.
3 or 4 people show up and they buy a coffee and sit there for 4 hours taking photos. And the guy's like, yeah, the place is packed, but I've made like 800 baht today.
Yeah. Yeah, and the rise of these photo opportunity cafes, as I
Mm,
like to call them, it's like the whole purpose of them is to be photo backgrounds.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good for crowd numbers, maybe not so good for longevity.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
So yeah, so that's one end of the spectrum, is all these like social media driven food. But on the other end of the spectrum is the rise of super high end fine dining restaurants that have just
Yeah.
popped up everywhere. And it's interesting because so with these restaurants, they are hyper focused. So back in the day, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you have a lot of Thai restaurants that are just Thai restaurants. Like they don't have a specific focus.
Right.
Um, but now, in order to do well, it seems like you've got to have an angle. Are you Southern food, royal food, Northern food, local farm to table food? Like you've got to be able to have a tagline for your restaurant.
Interesting.
Um, so these fine dining places have to really have a focus, and they pay attention to their ingredients, where they're sourced, and they're going to be from this specific farm, and a rise of what we call boran food. Do you know what boran means?
Like original or old style, old fashioned,
Old style. Yeah, it means old, but not like an old pair of shoes. It's old in the sense of vintage or
like
antique.
authentic
Yeah,
grandma's cooking.
grandmas. Yeah, like 200 years ago. So there's like a comeback of all these dishes that have disappeared. And people are cooking from old ancient cookbooks and bringing them back to life.
Mm,
So there's a huge amount of these restaurants popping up. And again, social media driven, they are extremely popular and super hard to reserve. And
right.
so they will get uh, um, a reputation for being hard to reserve, which makes them even harder to reserve.
Yeah, talk to anyone who wants to book a JFI and they've got to sign up on the web for like, yeah, I'll see you next January or kind of something like that. But
Yeah,
I shared with you earlier a story I saw in some international newspaper, and it was like the top 5 restaurants to dine at in Bangkok, and I
yeah,
was scrolling through it, and there's one that looked really cool and really funky, and I thought, oh, it'll be nice to take my wife and son out for like a really nice meal just for fun.
yeah,
And I went to the menu. It was like 4,000 baht per person. I'm like, nope,
yeah.
that's not going to happen.
And
Um,
that 4,000 is on the low end of these places. There are places that will charge 5,000, almost 6,000 plus, mind you, not
yeah.
including drinks, not
Oh
including
God.
service charge. So by the end of it, you're looking at like 6,500 per person. And you know what's crazy? That
What?
is more expensive than Michelin star restaurants in North America.
Hmm.
Like, it is completely bizarre. The inequality of restaurants is huge in Thailand. You've got like things that are
Yes.
super cheap, super affordable, like way more affordable than a sandwich that you can get in Vancouver. Okay. But on the other end, you've got places so expensive, you could not find a restaurant in Vancouver that actually costs that much.
That's
It's
crazy.
so bizarre, and it's very elitist, right? It's like this is only for a certain kind of people who can afford a certain kind of food. In
Right.
Vancouver, like a Michelin star restaurant, we just got our Michelin this year, and we have 8 Michelin star restaurants now, and their tasting menu ranges anywhere from like 95 to $200,
Good Lord.
and like that's cheaper than these all of these places in Thailand. And 95 to 200 bucks for a Canadian, you don't have to be rich to afford that. For a special occasion, a middle class person could afford that once a year for like a special occasion, and it's
Mm,
actually doable, right? It's not completely out of the question
right.
for a special occasion, but like a 6,000 baht meal in Thailand, like most of Thailand cannot do that ever.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just,
Yeah.
I think back to that old Steve Martin movie, LA Story, where he goes to like some super fine dining restaurant and they bring out like a tiny little, a tiny little
Yeah.
morsel of food on his plate. And he's like, dinner's over and I don't even remember eating.
Yeah. And it's just nuts because like food in Vancouver is expensive by
Yeah.
any standard.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even compare to how much more it can be in Bangkok. So I do wonder whether this is a fad. Talk to me again in 5 years, and then we'll see where it's at then.
Yeah. Bangkok is such a weird city, isn't it? And I say to people, that's one of the things that makes it great, but it's also so sort of shocking is that you can go out and you can have a really, really great evening and you can drop 500 baht or you can drop $5,000. Like it's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
totally what you're up for,
yeah,
you know?
totally, yeah,
So one of the reasons why it was a very timely call to have you back on the show was that because you have a new book coming out and
yes,
I want to hear about it. It's called, correct me if I'm wrong, it's called Sabai. That's the word
yes.
on the cover. And it
Hmm.
looks like a great book. What's going on?
So this is my second book. It's called Sabai because this is a book that I want to help people be able to cook Thai food sabai sabai.
Okay.
And for people who don't know what sabai means, if you're in Thailand, you've probably heard this word
You
a
got to.
million times. But for those who don't know, it basically means being at ease, comfortable, relaxed, easy peasy. And most people, when they approach Thai food, it is not a sabai situation. Like they're stressed out over all the ingredients. And a lot of them will try to attempt difficult things like pad thai. Like everyone wants to make pad thai as their first dish, and I always say like you should not be making pad thai as your first dish. It is
Oh,
not. It's not easy. It's not foolproof. Many things can go wrong. Um, and so I wrote this book to basically be a resource for people who want to get into Thai cooking and want a simple way to get into it. So if you grab this book off the shelf, you turn the pages, anything that you see, anything that catches your eye is weeknight friendly, which I never had a resource like this on my website or my YouTube channel. Like you go on my website and my YouTube channel and you see all these recipes, it's not clear which one is easy. It's not clear which one you can pull off on a Wednesday night. You have to do some searching, right?
right, right.
But with I wanted this book to be like, okay, this is it. If you want quick and easy, anything in this book. And then I also have information on ingredients and basic things like how to cook rice, how to cook sticky rice, like everything that you need should be self-contained in this book. And I really put a lot of attention on the ingredients because 80% of the intimidation that people feel towards learning a new cuisine is in the
Hmm.
ingredients. The cooking itself doesn't really, it's not really difficult. It's not any different from cooking any other cuisine. You're still putting things in a pan, but it's the ingredients that really trip people up. And so I spend a lot of time on that in the book, and I want to make sure that it's self-sufficient. You don't need to like go Google anything to get
Right.
your questions answered. Yeah,
Cool. So you're in Toronto now doing a press tour for this, right?
that's right.
Awesome. When does
Yeah.
it come out?
It has come out. It came out on March 14th, on Pi Day of all days.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I know, which I thought was,
314.
yeah, which I thought was a cute coincidence because I usually go by Pi here just to make it easier for people to remember my name.
Right,
And
right.
so Pi's book came out on Pi Day, and to celebrate that, I went to a Thai restaurant in Toronto called Pi.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So the Thai restaurant, the Thai restaurant in Toronto called Pai is Pai, Pai the
The town
town
in
in
Mae Hong
northern
Son.
Thailand. Yeah, yeah. So the
Mhm.
chef is from there. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Does he have long hair and smoke doobies in the back? Is
Well,
that's
well, she
oh, I'm sorry.
it's a woman chef, but her husband does have long hair now that you mention
I have never seen I have never seen so many hippies in one place as I did last time I was in Pi.
it.
But it's
Yeah,
a
I've never been to Pai, and I would love to go one day
oh,
just to
it's
see what it's all about.
it's awesome. It's awesome. Well, one of the things we wanted to do on this show, which I think is kind of neat, is we wanted to sort of add a little bit of an interactive element. So what we did was we sent a message to our lovely patrons, and we asked them, "Hey, we've got an upcoming guest on the show named Pi. She's a chef, and this is her. And if you have a question for her, send us a voicemail." So we've got a couple of voicemails from patrons, and I will play them, and you will answer them. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
So our first question comes from our buddy Greg, not me. I like his name, but he's another handsome bald guy. So let's hear what Greg has to say.
Hey guys, this is Greg. Long time. Real quick, me and my wife are in the process of potentially buying a Thai restaurant. So my wife is a very good cook, but I really want to focus on sort of the street food marketing angle. And my question to Pailin would be, what would her top 5 quote unquote street food items be? And I was hoping to get something a little more unique in the list, not the generic pad thai type of items. Anyway, keep up the good work, and thanks a lot, guys.
So the top 5 street food that I would recommend, if you want a restaurant that really represents the street food that Thai people consider absolutely core,
Mhm.
you've got to have khao man gai. You got to have khao kha mu. Khao man gai is basically Hainanese chicken rice. It's poached
Mhm.
chicken on rice that's cooked in chicken broth.
Uh-huh.
Khao kha mu is braised pork legs in a 5-spice broth on rice.
So good.
Khao Khao mu dang, which is Chinese barbecue pork on rice with a gravy.
Uh-huh.
And then the other two, I would say you need mu ping in there, which is skewered pork that's grilled. And I feel like when I think of Thai street food, that is the thing that comes to mind. It's ubiquitous. People eat it for breakfast. People just eat it like so much that it's so much a part of Thai culture.
Mhm.
And then finally, I think you need a kway teow nam of some sort, a noodle soup of some sort. And you can
Mm.
take your pick, whatever kind you want. You can do boat noodles. You can do just, you know, pork meatballs or whatever. But I think kway teow is such a core part of Thai street food
Yeah.
that you cannot do Thai street food without it. Now, having said all this, if you want to run a restaurant and have all these things, it's going to be hard. There's a reason why khao man gai vendors only sell khao man gai. Khao kamu
Yeah.
vendors only sell ka kamu. It's a lot of prep. It's a lot of work to
Ah.
make this one thing, right? It's not like a stir fry and just throw a bunch of vegetables together and and it's done. There's a lot of very specific prep for these dishes. That's why most of these vendors will only sell that thing. You don't get a khao kamu vendor who also sells khao man gai on the side. Like that doesn't happen.
Oh,
So
that's really interesting.
so if you can pull it off, if you've got the prep and the resources and the capacity to pull off, these will be, I would say, the top core street foods of Thailand.
That's really cool, man. I got to say, when I'm out doing on a bike ride with my friends and buddies, and we're out in the boonies outside of Bangkok, stopping for a mu ping and khao niao
Mm-hmm.
with a bottle of
Mm-hmm.
beer, it's just
It
perfect.
it just hits the spot, right?
It's so good.
There's nothing like it. Yeah.
It's so good. Cool. Great. Great question, Greg. And good luck with buying the restaurant. Keep us posted on how things go. All right. Next question from our pal Scott.
Hi, Pailin. Scott Coates here. I've lived in Thailand a long, long time, and I'm sometimes amazed at certain Thai dishes that visitors seem to really love, and other ones that I think are really good that they seemingly have never heard of or never tried during their time here. So I'm wondering, what Thai dish do you think is completely overhyped as far as visitors are concerned? And what's the one dish that visitors don't seem to know and are missing out on? Thanks very much.
So the one dish that is absolutely overhyped, you're not going to be surprised, is pad thai.
Oh, yeah.
It's so completely overhyped. I don't think pad thai would have been as big of a thing in Thailand if it wasn't for the demand of tourists.
Mm,
Um, and like in Thailand, it's not actually easy to find Thai restaurants serving pad thai. Like it's not a thing that everybody has, right?
right.
But in North America, it's like if you're a Thai restaurant and you don't offer pad thai, people are going to walk out.
Really?
I felt that way. Well, I'm being a little extreme, but people will be very surprised.
Oh, I
Every
thought this
Thai
was a good
restaurant,
restaurant. Ooh.
yeah, I know every Thai restaurant has pad thai. And before I get to my most recommended underrated dish, when I wrote my book Sabai, I thought that pad thai is definitely not a weeknight friendly dish. Like this is not something that I would recommend you just like whip up on a Thursday
Right.
night for your
Right.
family, right? But I felt like I needed to have it because people are going to be looking for it.
Mm,
So I compromised by coming up with a minimalist pad thai recipe. And basically, in my head note, I say pad thai in its fully loaded form is not weeknight friendly. There's a lot of prep and it isn't something quick and easy. But if you really want to make pad thai and you want it to be sabai as much as possible, I have pared it down to this version, which I call the minimum viable pad thai. I've removed all I've removed all ingredients I don't think is crucial. And what's left, I think is crucial. If you start taking out anything else, you're compromising the dish pretty significantly. So
interesting.
that's a pad thai recipe that's in the book. But see, even for me, I felt the need to satisfy the pad thai craving of foreigners, and it's completely overblown. And Thai people are not that into pad thai, right? Like this is not our.
Right. Right.
We're way more into pad kapow and khao man gai than we are into pad thai.
Yeah, totally.
Um, And so the dish that I think is so underrated, and it's a favorite of mine that I always try to get every time, is Cookbook, which is a shrimp paste fried rice that it comes with lots of little side dishes, like there's a sweet pork and some sour mango
Oh,
and some
okay.
vegetables and egg, and then you toss everything together as you're about to eat it, and it just, to me, just all those flavors represent Thailand.
So how do you say it again?
Khao Kluk Kapi.
Cow krukkapi. Oh,
Mm.
interesting. I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds cool. All right.
What? You need to go find yourself Khao Kluk Kapi.
If only someone would write maybe some sort of resource that one could turn to.
Yeah,
In
maybe. If only. If only. I do have a recipe on hotthaikitchen.com if you want to check it out.
taking notes as we speak. Cool. Thanks, Scott. All right. Our last question comes from Victoria.
Hi, Greg and Ed. This is Victoria from Whitby, Ontario. I'm looking forward to the upcoming podcast about Thai cooking. And my question would be, what is the secret to making a really great pad Thai? Thank you.
Oh, man. Victoria, how did you know we were going to be talking about pad Thai? People want what they want, right? Like that's
Oh
why
my gosh.
when you go to
Yes.
Hong Kong or Vietnam or the Philippines, McDonald's are packed all the time because people like what they're familiar with. So, hey, if you like pad Thai, yeah, the more power to you. So, Pailin, what's the secret to a good pad Thai?
You see, I wasn't making this up.
You were not.
So the secret to making pad Thai is a dish that people have trouble with. It is not easy. I will tell you that. If it's your first time cooking Thai food, this is not something you want to attempt. But the secret, there are a couple of things. First, you really need a good sauce recipe. You have to get the right ratio of the sweet, the salty, and sour in order to make a killer pad Thai. So your ratio of fish sauce to tamarind to palm sugar has to be right. I highly recommend the ratio of my recipe, but like as a general rule of thumb, if your pad Thai doesn't taste right, probably your sauce ratio is off.
Okay.
The second ratio to worry about is the ratio between sauce and noodles. So if you put too much sauce for the noodles, it's going to be like overly sweet, overly salty. If you have too much noodles, it's going to be bland. So pad Thai is not something I recommend eyeballing. Find a good recipe, measure out all the ingredients as written, weigh them out, and follow the recipe as written as much as you can. This is not a dish that will do well if you start ad-libbing.
Interesting. Wow, good question. And Victoria, let us know how that recipe goes. Don't eyeball it. You're not that good. No one's that good. Even professionals need to measure it.
I don't eyeball it. Even I never eyeball pad Thai because it's such a sensitive ratio. And when you see street vendors that can just like grab a bunch of noodles and throw it in, they've done this 100,000 times. They know every handful of ingredients that they grab is the same. And the ladle that they use for the sauce is the same size every time.
Right.
So it is measured, just not in the same way that we do at home.
Right. It's one of those things where you have someone standing by, like you said, they do it 1,000 times a day and you're like, oh, that looks easy. And then you try it and it's, an absolute disaster because,
yes.
Yes. Well, Pailin, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you got a busy book tour coming up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And really quick, also one of our listeners, our buddy JR, he sent me a mail and asked if the book would be available in Thailand. If people want to get the book, where do they get it?
If you are in Thailand, there are a couple of options. Kinokuniya Thailand does have it online on their website, so check that out. And also, bookdepository.com ships worldwide for free.
Really?
So so the price of the book's going to be a little higher than Amazon, but it's a free shipping. It takes a few weeks, but it will come at a reasonable price.
Cool. Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to chat with you after so many years since your last appearance. And I'm looking forward to getting the book. I might even step out of my bologna sandwich bubble and try something. I'll let you know how it goes. But next time you're in town, look us up.
We'll go to J-Fi together.
Yes. Make the reservation now. And maybe by 2024 we can get in.
Yeah.
Pailin, thanks so much. Everyone go to her channel, check it out on YouTube, get the book. You won't regret it. Thanks again, Pailin. Hey, and just something I want to add to the end of the show here. We got a last-minute voicemail from our buddy Randy in Texas here, and I didn't have time to include it in the main show, but I did send it to Pailin, and she did answer by text. So let's hear what Randy said, and then I will read Pailin's answer after that.
Hey, Randy Hurwitz here from Texas. My wife is Thai. We spent a lot of time in Thailand. One thing I always wondered is why in Thailand they always use so much MSG. I love the taste of the food, but the MSG doesn't agree with my wife or myself. When she cooks Thai at home, it seems to taste pretty darn good too, but no MSG. So just wondering why that stayed as part of the cooking in Thailand so much. Love the show. Talk to you later.
Hey, Randy, thanks for sending that question in. As I mentioned, I wasn't able to get it into the show before I talked to Pailin, but I did send her the voicemail, and she did answer. So I'm going to read her reply here, and if you'd like, you can imagine her voice instead of mine. I was going to try and do a Pailin impersonation, but I figured that was probably ill-advised. Anyway, here I am reading her response. She says, MSG is widely used not only in Thailand, but all over Asia. First, it's important to note that the majority of MSG is used by food vendors and not by home cooks. Obviously, this isn't part of the traditional cuisine, but it's hard for people to stop using it once it's been introduced. This is because MSG improves the flavor of food, and food vendors are pressured to use it because if their food isn't as good as the guy down the street, their livelihood is in jeopardy. But go into most homes, and it's not nearly as common because your family is not likely to ditch you because the neighbor's food is better than yours. So it's a bit like insurance for food vendors, and it's understandably scary for them to let it go. On the health side, there's no evidence that MSG in our food causes any harm to our health aside from perhaps making us eat too much. It's also not conclusive that MSG really causes the symptoms people associate with it, but when people tell me they have issues with MSG, I always respect it and assume it is true. Hope this helps. So yeah, there we go. Thanks, Randy. That was awesome. And thank you again, Pailin, for responding via email.
Well, I got to say this. Pailin is one of those guests that actually has affected my life in that I watch her videos. Her channel is very plant-based friendly. Which is kind of cool. Like I follow a whole bunch of plant-based cooks and chefs and, vegan channels. I follow all that stuff.
Great.
But her channel is a really mix and match thing. So it's great for meat eaters, but she's got a bunch of plant-based content. And obviously, just in general, she's just great. She's got a great personality. She's funny. She's smart. She's innovative. Like she's got some unique recipes. She teaches traditional Thai recipes, but in a way that's kind of easier to make. So I've made a bunch of her recipes.
Oh, that's cool, man. I don't spend it. Maybe I should spend more time on YouTube. Maybe that's probably not even healthy, but I don't watch a lot of videos on YouTube anyway. But the videos of hers I've seen are awesome, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have seen them because I think there's a significant overlap actually between a lot of our listeners and a lot of her viewers because she does some really cool stuff. And she sent me a draft preview of her book, and it looks super cool, man. It's sort of like one of those. You know that episode of The Simpsons where Homer has to take care of making dinner for the kids, and the only thing he has in the house is a frozen pie shell, some cloves, and Tom Collins mix, and he sort of mixes them all together. Now, I'm not saying that her channel is like that. What I'm saying is that she makes it very easy to make really good dishes with just regular stuff that you have at home.
Right.
Like you don't have to go out to some random store on the other side of the city to get this special spice or something like that.
She's pretty good about saying, if you have an Asian market, get this. But if you don't, get this. Her
recipes are very accessible for regular folk like you and I.
That's right, for sure.
So it was great, and she did outline some cool ways to get the book, no matter if you're living overseas or in Thailand, because I think she mentioned Kinokuniya has the book in Thailand here, or you can order it from a book depository website.
Very cool.
It looks great, and thank you very much, Pailin, for coming on the show. It was great to chat, and everyone, if you haven't seen her channel, if you haven't bought the book, do so now. You won't be disappointed.
Agree 100%. All right, a final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Yeah, baby. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that will feature on the show. I'm off Twitter these days, but you can find me on Mastodon at bkkgreg@home.social. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll see you back here next week.
For sure.
Man, wow, I finished my delicious hazelnut liqueur during the bonus show, and now I feel like in the main show starts, I have nothing to drink. I feel like I just finished my popcorn in the movie theater during the trailers. It's no good.
Just got to pour another drink. That's what I do. But I don't have a wife or a son, so there you go.
Well, I do, and both of them are sleeping, so we're in the same boat, man. All right.